Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Mark Wood, Assistant City Manager. Tonight, I'm going to talk to you about the Colleyville Pedestrian Transportation Program, namely sidewalks and trails. And there's a lot of components to what the city is doing with sidewalks and trails, and so I'll, with the slides, walk you through each one of those components. So the first component is regarding sidewalks. And so the city adopted a new sidewalk policy in July of last year. July 2nd, 2018. There were several components to the sidewalk policy that were updated, and you can see them on the slide. So the main components were that sidewalks should be installed or cash in lieu payment made for each new home constructed. Now there is a waiver variance process I'll go into in a minute, but generally either sidewalks should be installed or cash in lieu should be paid for that value. And then that money goes into a fund which can be distributed across citywide to develop sidewalks where needed. You can see that new development with a new road, sidewalks via the policy are required on both sides of the street. An exception would be a single loaded residential roadway. New development adjacent to an existing road be required by the master thoroughfare plan or the sidewalk map, and I'll show you that map on the next slide. Then a sidewalk is required. Existing development or a single-family home, if it's required by the thoroughfare plan, the sidewalk map, if it has 300 feet of frontage, street frontage, or on a street with 50% or more existing sidewalks, then a sidewalk must be put in. The sidewalk policy also addressed design standards, and the primary elements of that were 4 foot for residential minimum, 5 foot minimum for a collector street, and then the sidewalk should be 1 foot off abutting property line. The waiver process, some factors that could be considered via the policy are if the sidewalk is cost prohibitive, there's severe topography issues, or if there's adverse pedestrian activity issues such as noise or other potentially traffic issues. The approval determination for the waiver, the process is that it goes to the city manager's office. The city manager makes a determination. The appeal to that decision would be to the city council. And then finally, the remediation process. So if there's a home within Colleyville that has a sidewalk that was put in that was not required on the map, kind of that sidewalk.
Yeah, I don't think you'll provide a lot of value
in the past. It could be removed by that property owner. The cost would be paid for by the property owner, and then cash would still have to be paid in lieu of that sidewalk. So those are the main components to the sidewalk policy that was adopted in July of last year. On this slide, just wanted to show you the two maps that are referenced in the policy. The one on the left is the sidewalk map. You'll see the date on that is November of 2008. It has been a while since that map has been updated. As a part of that discussion with the policy, the committee that the City Council appointed a sidewalk committee that looked at the policy, made recommendations.
No.
One of the kind of discussion points was this map being updated, and I think that was a discussion for a future action, and the City Council had discussed that.
Let's
on the
try to
side,
maybe we'll just get all of us on the call, Joe and the vector data guys.
To look at in more detail if you'd like to. I know the screen is the size isn't necessarily for viewing tonight, but what you see on there is the colored lines would be your non-local streets. So when we talk about the policy that a sidewalk is required, if it's a non-local street, those are the streets that are required on. So in terms of sidewalks and developing a master plan, again, I mentioned the City Council review and update of the map, and that's forthcoming as discussed with the Sidewalk Committee, and also in that discussion last summer when we ultimately approved the sidewalk plan. Part of that discussion will be to come up with a 5-year CIP. We have a 5-year CIP for nearly every capital project within the city, and so that will be a part of this as well. A part of that CIP will be identifying a funding source. So we certainly receive the cash in lieu for certain sidewalks, but also finding other funding sources to implement sidewalk plan. Some of those may be grant opportunities. However, I did mention grant opportunities may be limited for sidewalks, whereas on the trail side, they're more abundant. So, you think about Texas Parks and Wildlife and different grant opportunities. They're typically more available for trails as opposed to